As chair of the Mortuary and Cemetery Board, I'm calling the Oregon Mortuary and Cemetery Board into a public session under ORS 692-310 OAR 830-011-0010-2 and 3. And ORS 192610 to ORS 192705. This public meeting session is open to the public. The board invites public to sign up if they have any comments. Comments may be limited to 2 minutes per person. Today's date is June 23rd, 2026, and the time is 9:01. This Mortuary and Cemetery Board meeting is now in order.
Okay.
Staff, make sure we're recording this today. Is the recording on?
The recording is on.
Okay. And can we do a roll call, please?
Yes. President Gaskell.
Present.
Vice President Canizares.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Porter.
Here.
Board Member Collins.
Here.
Board Member Harris.
Here.
Board Member Houston.
Here.
Board Member Letter.
Here.
Board Member Johnson.
Here.
Board Member Loveland.
Here.
Board Member Negus.
Here.
AAG Tony DeChamps.
I'm here.
Executive Director Dresselhaus.
Here.
Powell here. Ben Plant from DAS SFS.
Here.
Madeline Kretschmar from DAS SFS.
Here.
Sherry Lauer from DAS HR.
Good morning. Here.
Haley Morse Miller from DAS LFO. Not present. And J. Linda Patton from DAS CFO.
Here.
Thank you. And I'm showing Angela McKenzie Tucker here from OFDA.
Hi there.
Hi. And Mike Filippelli.
That's correct. Hi.
Hi. Who are you representing? Just for my notes, please.
Yeah, I'm a union organizer with SEIU.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we need to make a note that Angela McKenzie Tucker now has a new hairdo. So, for the
Is there
record.
anybody in the lobby who I've not named or called?
I see
Oh, hey, looks
Haley
like
in the
Haley.
lobby.
Looks like Haley, is waiting.
There she is. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Thanks for checking, Aaron.
Yep. Haley Morse Miller from DAS LFO.
From Legislative Fiscal Office.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, and you're present. Okay,
Good
all
morning, Haley.
Morning.
right, everybody's accounted for and here.
Excellent. Thank you. So I want to start off this meeting by saying this is not a time for finger pointing, bashing, anything like that. We have some serious stuff we have to get through and get answered today so we can move forward with what we're doing. So please keep that in mind with your comments. We'll have time to bash everybody later, but now's not the time for that. Sherry, please don't yell at me like that. I know HR doesn't like that. So anyway, let's get started. Go ahead with Chad, I guess, right? Or Aaron?
Rob, how did you want to do the sequence? Did you want to go licensing comparison or the overall presentation of the options?
I would do licensing comparison first. I think,
Okay.
and then go from there if you're okay with that.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you all see
Yep.
the first slide. Okay, so this is a comparison of Oregon and our neighbors. yesterday, a request was made just to give us some context about the number of licensees in total in California and Washington. California has approximately 11,000 licensees across the industry. Washington has about 2,275, and Oregon has about 1,656. So this slideshow was basically put together to show how current Oregon rates and fees compare against our neighbors. A number of states collect annually and a number collect biennially. So we're not different in that regard by much. You can see that Oregon's initial application is quite a bit less than our surrounding neighbors. These other fees I just pulled because they are very much different from each other, and I kind of wanted to show a contrast between us and California especially. Other states I had some difficulty locating principal charges or fees, etc., so they're not listed. The next few slides, though, I really want to sort of point out and review again because the renewal fees for crematories, cemeteries, and alternative dispositions are a wild card here, and they're proposed for a significant increase. You can see that the initial app fee for Oregon is again lower than our neighbors, but where things are very different and where we hope to bring in more revenue from is the actual fee for a cremation, a burial, or an alternative disposition. We are charging currently for cremations, we charge a $100 fee per year and $2 per cremation, and that's collected biannually. In comparison to California, they're charging a much higher fee per year plus an $11.50 per cremation fee. Washington charges $10.80 per cremation fee with a crematory operator fee annually. So these numbers are significantly higher than Oregon currently. Our proposal for our budget, the scenarios that you're going to see today, the Oregon requested fee increase is to $9, flat rate across the board for any disposition type. So we would go from $2 per cremation to $9. For cemeteries, we are currently at $4 per interment, and we cap that at 150 interments or $600 per year for a biennial collection of $1,200. And we exempt those cemeteries where they're 10 or less. Washington is at $8.37. California is at $11.50 per burial. Other states don't have these sorts of per disposition fees, although Nevada does have a $10 funeral contract fee. So anytime a contract is drawn up, the state gets a regulatory fee of $10. I think that's probably represented on the next slide. So again, we're currently at $4 per interment up to 150 and capping at 600 per year. The proposal is to go to $9. For alternative disposition facilities, we're collecting $2 per disposition. That's alkaline hydrolysis, natural organic reduction. The proposal again is to go to $9 from $2. Application fees, again, we're in the lower rung of things. And for funeral directors, I think we're probably sitting in the middle of the road here a little bit. Nothing too drastic between us and our neighbors. Apprenticeship intern application fees, we are on the low side, and I think you'll see through our presentation that there is an effort to preserve the current apprentice fees and not subject them to the rate increases that other licensees are going to be subjected to. But nonetheless, they're included here for your review. Embalmers, again, the apprentice rate is 25 per year. There's an attempt to keep that at that rate. In comparison to other states, we are very, very low on scale. Application fee, again, we're on the low side. Renewals, California collects annually. some, Washington collects annually, so in comparison to them, we're low. But other states do collect every 2 years or on biennial schedules, and we're not that much different from them. These are some miscellaneous fees that I included just because I think pre-need sales, we have I think 100 and close northward of 200 pre-need people. And so our initial is 150 with a renewal of 25. That's pretty low in comparison to our neighbors. California also has a number of cemetery fees that Oregon doesn't have at all, and it's probably a pretty large revenue generator for them. These fees are listed in this section. Delinquency fees and reinstatement fees, we are by far the lowest at $50. California is the highest. They charge 150% of the normal rate. So an example is if you're late, you're not paying $750 more, you're paying 150% more for a total of $1125. And then these are flat rates for Idaho, Nevada, and Washington. So hopefully as we go through these budget options that you're going to see, maybe it's helpful to keep in mind or not where Oregon currently sits and where we could be depending on the amount or the option that the board selects today. And that's all that I have right now.
I guess any questions at this time? Rob, is that okay to open just for questions related to that?
That's exactly what
Okay.
I said, but I was
Okay, thank
muted
you.
is all. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Any questions from anybody on this so far? Okay. Doesn't look like there is. Go ahead to our next section. Is that you, Chad, or is that?
Yes, it is. It is. I'll give the kind of the overall presentation now. Thank you, Rob. Let's see if I can locate it now. It's all about juggling the windows you have in your open. Okay, can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so titled Budget Decision Options, Licensing Fee Adjustments, and Staffing Scenarios. This is kind of an expansion of the document that's already been disseminated to all of you, titled FY 27 to 29 Budget Decision Options, Licensing Fee, and Staffing Impacts. So this it will expound a bit on that handout. So the purpose of this special board meeting is focus on the board's recommendation regarding agency budget options. Questions regarding the underlying causes of the budget shortfall will be addressed at a later time. The purpose of this also later in this presentation, and as you've seen in the handout, 6 budget scenario options will be presented for board consideration recommendation. Each scenario reflects different approaches to balancing licensing fee adjustments, which will increase collected revenue, and staffing levels, potential reductions resulting in diminished operational capacity. Board recommendation is necessary to support fiscal alignment for fiscal year 27-29. Statutory and governance context. Agency responsibilities are defined by statute and regulatory mandate. Licensing fees function as an important source of agency revenue. Agency operations must support required regulatory functions and service obligations, and budget planning reflects ongoing alignment of resources with mandated responsibilities. So here's the ground rules for discussion, everyone's aware of this, but just to restate this, that everyone's probably aware of most of this. Focus on agency-wide impacts and statutory responsibilities. Evaluate scenarios based on fiscal sustainability and regulatory capacity. Discussion should remain focused on selecting a recommendation. Board members who are licensees are expected to remain impartial and ensure their personal licensure status does not influence deliberations or decisions. And given the potential impact of staffing reductions on individuals' livelihoods, discussion should remain respectful and considerate. So no surprises, but just wanted to state those formally. So the decision framework, the board may consider each option through three lenses: the fiscal alignment, the extent to which the option achieves structural balance; regulatory capacity, the ability to maintain required regulatory functions and timelines; and constituent impact, effects on regulated entities and service delivery expectations. So the current fiscal context, the current financial outlook reflects a structural imbalance under existing projections, which is the purpose of this meeting and has been shared with all of you previously. Agency revenue is primarily derived from a portion of the death filing fee and licensing fees as cost recovery mechanisms. It's also important to note that, as shared before, licensing fees have not been increased since 2004 for this agency, so it's been a while. Personnel costs are the largest recurring expenditure, which is probably not a surprise for any industry or place that employs individuals. And budget action is required to maintain alignment between resources and obligations. So here's kind of a table, a kind of a summarization of the options that were presented in the handout, and I'll just go through them more in detail on individual slides. So option one is a flat percentage fee increase with no staff reductions. So the approach emphasizes fee increases for all licensees, 290% to be specific. Staffing levels remain unchanged, maintains current service levels and regulatory capacity, higher relative cost impact for licensees. Option two is a tiered percentage fee increase by license type, no staff reductions. The approach emphasizes fee increase for certain licenses, 290% increase for facility licenses, 250% increase for individual licenses, no increase for apprentice intern licenses. Staffing levels remain unchanged, maintains current service levels and regulatory capacity, higher relative cost impacts for certain licensees. Option three, the flat percentage fee increase, one staff reduction. The approach emphasizes fee increase for all licensees, 255% increase. One staff reduction, which is a compliance specialist one, resulting in a 14% reduction of agency staff. Reduced agency, which will result in reduced agency capacity, statutory mandates, key performance measures, and governor expectations will most likely not be met. Lower overall cost impact on licensees compared to other options. Option four, tiered percentage fee increase by license type, one staff reduction. This approach emphasizes fee increase for certain licenses, 255% increase for facility licenses, 150% increase for individual licenses, no increase for apprentice intern licenses. One staff reduction, compliance specialist one, resulting in a 14% reduction of agency staff, resulting in reduced agency capacity, statutory mandates, key performance measures, governor expectations will most likely not be met, lower overall cost impact on licensees compared to other options. And if I, just to go back a bit, I did look at kind of some of the history and notes that were taken previously in 2004 when the licensing fees were last increased. And there was kind of there were discussions and kind of concerted efforts, especially for apprentice and intern licenses, to not be increased significantly, if at all, with the thinking or the understanding that most apprentices and interns are students or those who are just entering the death care industry or interested. So to immediately impact them with significant increases in licensing fees could potentially be a barrier to licensing for them pursuing that, and could potentially disrupt the pipeline, if you will, of new licensees, of new individuals becoming licensed. So that's kind of the thinking behind that, is kind of a philosophical, or not philosophical, but an overall arching thing to consider. And my understanding also is for facility increases maybe being a bit more than individuals. I believe the understanding there is that facilities, if they choose to, however they decide to recoup that money, if they will, or adjust accordingly to fee increases, they could raise their prices. They have more flexibility than individuals. Individuals can't. It's really difficult for individuals to increase their revenue unless they get a raise or get another job or work somewhere else. So I just wanted to explain kind of the framework of the reasoning behind some of these options and kind of the historical context of what was decided in the past and what was discussed. So just wanted to kind of give that explanation before as we're moving forward here with these options. So option 5 is a flat percentage fee increase, 2 staff reductions. This approach emphasizes fee increases for all licenses, a 220% increase. This option results in 2 staff reductions, compliance specialist 1 and administrative specialist 2, resulting in 29% reduction of agency staff. Resulting in significant service impacts, statutory mandates, key performance measures, governor expectations will most likely not be met. Lower relative cost impact on licensees compared to other options. And I believe this is our last option. Option 6 is a tiered percentage fee increase by license type, 2 staff reductions. This approach emphasizes fee increase for certain licenses, 220% increase for facility licenses, no increase for individual, apprentice, or intern licenses, resulting in 2 staff reductions, compliance specialist 1, administrative specialist 2, resulting in 29% reduction of agency staff, resulting in significant service impacts, statutory mandates, key performance measures, governor expectations will most likely not be met. Lower relative cost impact on licensees compared to other options. I guess any questions on the options, because we can talk about more in depth during the discussion. I just wanted to present kind of an overall view of what each option, the contents of each one.
Anybody have any questions? Neil.
Yeah, well, I do have a question. Again, maybe this is not the right time. You talked about later on we'll have information about what's causing the shortfall. And I guess maybe I should even know some of this, but I don't. And I just, in order to help, make decisions like this, I think it would be important to know what's causing the shortfalls.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Neil. Just gotta have some notes here. That's a great point. And the question of what is driving the budget shortfall is important and will be addressed. All those related topics will be addressed in detail at a future meeting. This session is particularly focused on a recommendation because we're very limited with time-wise, because once a decision's made, we will need to do rulemaking to update the fee schedule for licensing. Renewals are opening up in November, so we need to have those new fees be able to be implemented and effective by that time. And also then there's more internal kind of processing that we need to do for this process. We need to get approval for fee increases from DAS and some other things as well. But to address your comment, Neil, the future session that will be scheduled will include updates of steps that are that are already underway, as well as additional actions that are being considered to help ensure that this does not happen again. And believe me, we will be putting things into place for monitoring, et cetera, to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Yes,
thanks.
Rugi. Thanks, Neil. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just leery about bringing this with our decision in rulemaking for public comment without the fundamental question that Neil asked. Because if we want buy-in from the licensees, we need an explanation. You follow what I'm saying? This is going to go for public review, right? And public comment. So I just want you to realize I'm nervous about saying we need to move forward, we need to do this. We can give a generic answer why it happened, how it happened.
I agree with Rugi. Absolutely.
we cannot say we're raising it 200+% without giving a reason why it happened to begin with. We owe that to the licensees.
So that, and I don't, I don't disagree with that, Rugi, at all. And when I said it's not important, this is not a time for finger pointing. It is, I do think it is a time for us to understand how we got here. If everybody on our board at least doesn't even know that. So I would like to have either you, Aaron, or Chad, if you want to just give a synopsis of how this came about, how it was found at least, and then from that day forward, you guys have been working on a resolution. So go ahead, whichever one wants to do that.
Yeah, I can do that, Rob. Yeah, and thank you for providing kind of that context. And I don't disagree. So to give kind of an overview of where we, I guess, started with this and where we're at now. In preparing for our 27-29 biennial budget, it was discovered that based on our account and the projection of revenue and expenses, we were projected to be out of cash on the operational side about September of this year. And actually, in looking at, thanks to Haley, in looking at the allowable fee that can be taken based on administration of the IDP fund, our agency had never taken an administrative fee. And that actually, so we had multiple discussions about that with the budget partners, and we came up with a determination that we could collect those administrative fees and claw back, if you will. And we consulted with Tony, and he agreed that those were viable options. So we were able to claw back some administrative fees, and that actually makes the agency whole on a cash level until the end of this biennium. So we're actually better positioned than we were before the administrative fee. So one thing that's been a bit confusing is that, and I think when you look at as I presented the financials before in the reports, our account currently has both IDP fund and our operating account in one account. And that can be a bit confusing because sometimes you're not able to tell where the IDP fund starts and where it ends and where the operational account starts and ends. So that's one of, I think, the confusing things. And that is one thing that I'm working on to get. We are actually Shared Financial has modified the reporting to report that more as a separated funds, although it is one account. So that is helpful. We're actually working on other things that aren't in fruition yet, just more of concepts and just discussions of different ways we could ensure that this doesn't happen again. But that's overall kind of how we got here, is preparing for our upcoming budget. It was determined that our operational side would be running out of cash September, but now with the administrative fee, it's not going to be it's not going to be as soon as we anticipated it was going to be.
Go ahead, Rugi.
Mr. President, with your permission, I'd like to share my thoughts.
Sure.
So I dove into the financials, and we've got finance people to either support or correct me. But my analysis basically is not raising licensing fees since 2004 has not kept up with inflation, increases in personnel salary, which compromises about 60 to 70% of our expenses, and additional staff members. That answers your question, Neil.
Yeah, I remember in the past we were voting on doing a fee increase, but it appeared that our financial well-being was in really good order. So it was like, well, let's not raise rates unless we have to. And so that's kind of why we're in this position also. Melissa?
I think that when we're looking at solutions and everything, we need to build in a set inflator for increasing the fees going forward, that we put it in,
Absolutely.
that if the state says that you can raise property taxes by 3%, then why can't we put in, say, a 3%? I know with the city, that's how we budget with everything, is with a projected 3% increase of everything, and that's how fees are adjusted with everything. And I think that coming up with something with that can help us stave off some of this gap in the future.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be palatable to some constituents, but it's a necessity, so that we can continue having the board operating and keeping us across the board, all of us accountable on everything.
Rugi?
I apologize. I do have, if it's appropriate for finance to comment, looking at July of 2025, it looks like it is only December of 2025 where we were on the positive. And if I were to average out with this options, because it is important that it's embedded from July of 2025, it looks like we are averaging under operational revenue, at least $45,000 to $50,000 a month. Because if I were to do, and again, my computations has included the 5% on the 14, is it like the whatever portion we have? It's not on the whole, so it's not accurate. But we are only on the positive on December. I just want to make sure, as we consider these options, which I can put my hat in, which options I will choose. But I just need to account that since July of 2025, we've been averaging 45, with the exception of December. December of 2025. We've been averaging between 45 to 50,000 approximate on the red. There are some months that were low. There were some months that were very high, like August of 2025. So I just want to make sure that that was embedded with factoring these ins with the options that was provided to the board. I thank you for your time and patience.
Okay, any other questions or comments? What a talkative bunch today. So we have 6 options that have been presented to us, and we need to choose one of those, I assume, or yeah, go ahead and we just need to talk about what we want to do next. Go ahead, Rugi.
I'm putting my hat in for 4 or 6. My comment there is because we, as an agency, we need to have a shared bleed with this situation. I think the public will not accept this if there's no sacrifice on our agency side. So I'm voting for 4 or 6. I can live with either or. I'm more preferential to 4 so that that doesn't erode our service levels, but it's going to be between 4 or 6. And again, I'm not voting. We have to vote this obviously individually, but to get the discussion going, I'm going 4 and 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
If I can say something, I guess it's the sticker shock that scares me the most with these increases. Being an owner as of a cemetery and a funeral home, it's going to impact my business to have to pay these extra fees. I also pay my licensing fees for my staff members, which I know most owners do as well. So I'm also taking the brunt of having to pay individual licensing increases as well as establishment increases.
Very much so.
And I know that that's going to be the case for a lot of independent owners, and I don't know, that's scary to me. And I know that even if we rebuke it, nothing's going to happen, but I don't think that it's going to be taken lightly at all for it to be such a dramatic increase.
Neil, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, none of these, sound really good for, and I agree that, I'm afraid, of the impact it's going to have on the the cemeteries and the mortuaries and the people getting licenses. But, at some point, it makes sense. I mean, if we haven't had a raise since 2004, everybody else pretty much has, and I think we need to increase it. But again, I still have a problem because, I mean, these are pretty large increases, and what it means by reducing the service level, I don't know what that means, and I don't know what effect that's going to have on the industry, what effect that's going to have on the public. I still have so many questions that I don't know the answers to. It's hard for me to decide which of these make the most sense. I agree that it makes sense sometimes to look at, having some sacrifice on the part of the agency, but the trade-off is what kind of services are going to be affected by that, and how's that going to affect the public? How's that going to affect the industry? I have too many questions to really decide which one of these makes any sense.
Sure. Thanks, Neil. Haley, do you have?
I want to, on the same topic as Neil, I agree with what he's saying. And if we don't increase, what would other sacrifices be? Like, would there be more fees that we would see? Or it's just the sticker value. I agree with what other people are saying. It's quite enlarged. But I also understand having inflation being a point of topic that we do increase them. It's quite large.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Craig, you have something?
Yes. Back in 04, I believe is when they enacted the $2 cremation fee. And what really got pushback was that they went back to 2 previous years and charged that. So I would recommend that if we're going to do anything, that we don't add insult to injury and go back for the previous 2 years after the people have paid for their cremations or burials or whatever, and then expect the licensees to pay more on top, if that makes sense.
It does. So
Thank
what
you.
I hear you saying, Craig, is that if they come in when licenses are renewed for you and they're going to add that $9 or $7 extra dollars to each cremation, you've not adjusted for that. And
That's
you're
correct.
having to pay for something that, yeah. So how do we do that and go forward as opposed to in the rears? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't disagree with Neil or Haley either on or anybody that's talked about or Holly, the fee increases impacts us small businesses the worst. Not the worst, but it affects all of our businesses. But when we're working on smaller budgets and things like that and on margins, it's just it's a tough go to go 220%. That's a lot of money. Yeah, Neil.
Is it possible to prorate it then? I mean, I think your point is a good one. Is it possible to say, organizations of such a size get this kind of an increase and the larger ones get a larger increase or anything like that could have a less of an effect on the smaller businesses?
I'm not convinced that that's fair either to the larger businesses. I think Angela would agree with that probably. I don't, we just, as far as I can tell, we just really don't have any other solution to this. I'm leaning towards 6 right now on the list, because that's the least amount of increase. And if we I'll come back to that. Go ahead, Aaron.
It might be helpful. The positions that we've listed are the classification names that the state assigns to the role. So just for your information, a compliance specialist 1, that is the inspector position, and the administrative specialist 2 is the IDP administrator position. So if that helps you at all in any of this, classification titles are titles, but the actual positions within the agency are those 2.
Thank you. Can we take public comment right now?
We hadn't intended on it,
Okay.
but it's up to you, Rob.
I'm looking at the public and I don't really care for any of them, so probably not. Sorry, no joking. So we need to come up with a vote on this. And realizing the impact that it's going to have on our staff and but mostly on our licensees. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's very quiet. Yes, Holly.
I agree with you, Rob. It is a lot. It's a lot because it's a lot on both ends. I mean, I know that the staff is already overwhelmed, and I know that the reduction of staff members is not only going to hurt them and make their jobs harder, but it's going to hurt people that are applying for licenses and people that are applying for indigent fund. And I'm wondering, I just feel like this is so drastic all at once. And I understand that we haven't had increases in obviously a very long time that's been well overdue. I don't understand why it hasn't been gradually done over the years in the first place. But can it be gradually done now rather than such this huge thing on 2 different levels? It's not just a price increase, which I don't like at all, because like I said, I'm going to have to pay out on this in multiple different ways. But I know that we're going to see the effect of the loss of staff members as well.
Holly, sorry
Yes.
if I'm intervening here. I think that boat has sailed. I hear you loud and clear. I feel your pain. But I looked at the financials upside down. We are bleeding about $45,000 a month on the low side, on the negative, except December. At first, I did not believe that we were going to go zero cash. But when I weighted the average from July of 2025, it is unfortunately that deficit. So it has to be a combination of personnel cut and the fee increase. And I mean, I feel your pain. I truly do. Now, I was the one who actually requested at the last hour because it occurred to me last night. Believe me, Melissa and Rob knew I was dissecting this for 2 or 3 months already, the financials. I was doing my own calculus. But the reason why I asked California and Washington, I need you to wrap everybody's head here how much we have fallen behind. We have the least amount of licensees. And if you were to compare it to our neighboring states, they actually have more licensees. And you multiply that now with California and Washington, and you can see the magnitude of the revenue compared to us. It's dwarfed. We just have not kept up. And so I feel everybody's pain, and this is very, very difficult. But there's just no way around it. I mean, I have to agree, these 6 options are the only way to go. And to prorate it, we will be on the negative easily by early next fiscal year. We will run out of cash. In fact, my calculus was September based on the financials of March and April when it showed up. At that point, I was convinced we were going to run out of cash because at first I didn't believe it. We had like 400,000 with my calculus. And if you look at it, yeah, we're going to run out of cash, 100%. Again, I'm subject to be corrected by finance. They're here, they're listening.
Thanks, Ruby.
Yeah. So we need to, having never done one of these kind of things before, I don't know if we go down the list and everybody say a number, that go down the board thing and everybody say a number till we get a quorum on.
How about I make
majority
a
on-
motion?
Yeah,
Let's just make a motion and then it can be shot down and we can go one by one, right? Mr. President, I would like to revise the motion though, okay? I would like to make a motion to adopt option 6 with the revision that the agency has to have a very transparent explanation as to the reasons why we need to do such drastic fee increases for option 6. We have to be transparent to the public. We cannot just say we need to do this, period, and it comes at a later date. When this goes to public hearing, we need to be 100% what happened.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
that. Yeah.
Neil seconds. And any discussion? Then let's
I just want to support the idea that we have more information to provide to the public before it's a final decision, because I really still have, questions, and I think it's going to have huge impact. And, even from, the fact that, at least according to the impact, that the governor's expectations aren't going to be met. So,
Well,
what
I
kind of
think, yeah, I'm with you 100%, Neil. And the reason why I said this is not a time to point fingers, but is a time to understand what happened.
right.
But that will come later, and there will have to be our attorney and all those people need to be involved in coming up with a narrative that is accurate and makes sense, that is approved by our board, that's what we are going to stand behind as why this happened.
Well, Rob,
Yeah.
so I don't know if this is the proper time to have this discussion, but a deep dive needs to be done on IDPs in relation to the county medical examiner's office. So this may not be the place to do it, but there's some knowledge I have, and I really feel strongly a deep dive needs to be made into that.
Well, and we can add that to our next agenda for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Aaron, go ahead.
We do have our financial analysts on the call. If they are asked to explain and answer some of these questions you might have, they are available to do that. I believe that this would be the forum for that, unless it's not. I apologize if I'm
No, that
offering that up.
sounds like a really good idea.
But I think Ben Plant and Maddie both have a firm understanding of where we are and why we did not approach this in a sort of a tiered increase, or more tiered than we did. But it's as explained to me, it's pretty simple why we're here. So maybe Ben could speak to employee costs and some of the increases that we haven't kept up with, et cetera.
And part of what I realized in this too is we need to have them part of our board meetings, at least to give a report or to be in a portion of our board meetings, quarterly because that's how things get missed. Ben, would you be willing to share a little something or?
Yeah, I can explain a little bit of some of the reasons for the sticker shock here. So part of the board's requirement is to have 6 months of contingency, which means they need to have 6 months of saved up money to make it to the next large renewal period. And they need to have that at the end of AY 29. We need to essentially we're in the negative or almost in the negative, $0 right now, and we need to rapidly grow that cash balance to make it through the end of AY 29 with a 6-month contingency, and that's part of the large sticker shock. And then on top of that, of course, we've seen that we haven't had a fee increase in a really long time, but during that whole entire time, there has been inflation on services and supplies and personal services. That the board essentially has been having a pretty flat revenue, and those increases have been just going up more and more.
And Ben, with those personnel costs and everything, the changes within PERS, which I assume that state employees are part of the PERS program, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so those changes I know for with like local government and everything, those are some of our biggest price increases, and where I mean, it's not just the state agencies that are facing these types of questions and everything. Working for local government, we're in the same boat. We're looking at drastic changes. I mean, so all government agencies that rely on fees for stuff and taxes and whatnot are looking at some pretty drastic changes.
Well, and to Craig's thought of if he has to pay $9 per cremation from cremations he's already done when he's not even that's not been part of the equation, we should really consider that when we move forward with this. Somebody just had a comment here, and
Yeah, I've got it up if you want, Rob.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah, so Mike says, I know that there's not public comment, but I would point out that this proposal includes laying off 2 frontline staff. The impact of that should be discussed before folks vote on this. Laying off staff should always be a last resort. You have a very small staff, so the impacts on agency operations will be substantial, and the impact on 1 to 2 staff and their families will be massive.
Understood. And I feel 2 things about that. One would be absolutely none of this is easy for any of us. I hope nobody thinks that any of us are taking this lightly. First of all, secondly, we have to do what's right for the public and for our staff, and they're good staff. Nobody wants to have to do that, but in the public, in the realm of private ownership and stuff like that, sometimes you got to lay somebody off because the funds just aren't there and you can't get them, and that's just how it works, unfortunately. And I hate all of this with a passion, but this is where we're at. So thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Board members? Okay, so we have a first and a second on option 6 with a caveat that we have to be very transparent to the public in those comments, in explaining how this happened. Let's take a roll call vote. Stop me if I'm doing something wrong, Mr. Attorney or Chad or anybody. Aaron, can
Who's
you
calling
do a
the
roll
vote?
call vote?
Oh, President Gaskill,
Yes.
Vice President Canizares,
Yes.
Secretary Treasurer Porter,
Yes.
Member Collins.
Here. Yes.
Yes, okay. Member Harris, Member Harris,
Right. I can't abstain, right?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
abstain.
She can abstain.
okay. Member Harris has abstained. Member Houston,
Yes.
Member Letter,
Yes.
Member Johnson.
Just before I answer, there's a question that came up in the chat. And we are voting for option 6, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes.
Okay, Member Loveland.
Vote yes.
Okay, Member Negus.
Hesitantly, but I'll vote yes too.
Okay. There are 9 yeses and 1 abstention.
So Haley had a question here about when future increases would happen. They're going to be incremental. They're going to be much, much smaller, like 3% per year or something like that, or per biennium, as opposed to this large one time because of the length of time we were without a increase.
I think we should revisit fee increases and everything when we are starting the budget cycle. Starting for the next biennium of it's that it is part of the budgeting is we're looking at fees, and if there has to be an increase, so it's incremental, that every 2 years there's a much smaller percentage of an increase, so it can be adjusted accordingly.
Agreed.
Madeline had a question. She has her hand up.
Hi,
Oh,
yeah, Ben got booted off. Could you please, he's waiting in the lobby. Would you mind adding him back in, please?
Oh, yep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Sorry about that.
And Brady had his hand up too.
Brady, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just commented that I agree with Melissa moving forward, as long as we've got something in place. So that's the resolution of taking care of normal fee raises every year, and making sure we do a study behind it and it's applicable.
Yeah,
and
there's
it's-
going to be this. We're not done with this for a long time. We won't. Well, this is step one of many to ensure that this doesn't happen to the next round of board members. And why they couldn't have found this in January of next year while I'm not on the board is beyond me. Rugi.
I apologize. I was muted. Yes. Okay. I don't know, and maybe the AAG can help us here, is whether or not the board has the privy to request the finance. I would like to request that within the financial reports, that a monthly over under, removing the IDP fund portion, be in that calculus so that the executive director has an idea what the averaging over under is per month. I don't know if it's being done already, but I just want to officially put that on the table.
Thank
That
you,
I
Rugi.
think I think that would be a valuable tool for all of us to know what our running average is, because we are very seasonal with our revenue, which is December, and we need to know whether or not we're falling behind or not on a monthly operational basis. Because by knowing the over under on each month, if we consider adding a staff member or pay increases, that has to be factored in. So I don't know if it could be a board direction to the finance people or not.
So, Rugi, if we could, this is discussion that we're going to have internally with across the board. We've got now what we expect them board staff to do about the public. We've got a direction now on recommendation of which number we wanted, how to move forward. Those things we are going to dive into much deeper. And we're not, believe me, I'm not done with this either. Aaron, you raised your hand first.
Yeah, so the direction basically is to I have to enter the administrative rule process soon after this meeting is over. So it's option 6, but the one thing I need to emphasize is that that still includes a $9 disposition fee increase or an increase to $9. If we don't do that, then this option you choose falls apart too. There's really no way to tier that or implement that slower or at a lesser rate or over time because we will end up with not enough cash. And I'm not even sure we'll have enough cash by the end of the biennium under this option. And maybe Ben could help me through that because that increase brings in a substantial amount of needed money.
Well, and you know what? This is just my opinion now, and I don't work for the state, so please bear with my ignorance. If we don't have a 6-month cushion, too bad. We're doing the best we can. This happened because of several reasons that aren't a lot of people's
Rob?
issue. Yes.
Rob, I think I'll put it in simpler terms. We will not get revenue until December. And that $9 fee will help give us a lease of life now, because by September, we will be negative. I'm sorry, Rob. I mean, I love you to death. I love you to death, but that $9 fee is really embedded.
I'm not saying not do it. I'm not saying not do it. But if we don't have a 6-month cushion that Ben was talking about, I know everybody's got their hands up. Just a minute. Too bad. Neil.
Mine is just a process question. This goes, and maybe I should know this too, but it goes to public comment, right? How long does that stay open? And then what happens after that?
So I can address that. So the rulemaking process is we file the proposed rule or the section of rule. It is published in the Oregon Bulletin for a month for review. Then we have then a public comment section session is established, which is typically 1 day, and then people are able to it'll most likely be a virtual time to testify, or they could submit comments in writing.
And then it comes back to the board.
And then it comes back as a recommendation. So it'll come back to the board. Yeah, it says here's what was received at public comment. And do you want to move forward? Do you want to modify it? Do you want to amend it? If you want to amend it, Tony may be able to address that, but I think we may have to go back and maybe do some things
after the public comment.
Procedural. So, but I think that's what addresses your question, Neil, of the process. So we submit the rule, it gets published, then it's put up for public comment, then that is presented to the board as the result of that. And then depending on what the outcome is, then it becomes permanent.
Then we can modify it then if we choose to.
There is an option to modify. There is an opportunity to modify. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Ben, and then Madeline.
Ahead, yeah, I just wanted to. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to mention that the 6-month contingency is to keep the board operational. It's not like a extra savings account that we have in the just in case. It's a amount of money the board needs to operate to get to their next renewal.
But that didn't happen, so we yeah, okay.
And that's what the fee increases aim to get us to, is that 6-month contingency to make it to that December renewal.
Gotcha. Madeline?
That was my comment as well. Unfortunately, that 6 months contingency is not optional. If you do not have that, you will not be able to pay the bills for the board.
But DAS did not make sure we had it, so there we go. Okay, the vote is done and we've all accepted and agreed to number 6. And I suppose that's it. We're done, huh? I don't have let me pull up the agenda here.
Yeah,
I
that's
do
the
want
end. We
an-
have the recommendation from you. So I'm sorry,
when
Ruby.
this goes public, I want all board members to have the same narrative. So it's very crucial before we make this public that each board member have a narrative, questions and answers, because we will most likely hear it from the public. And we
Sure.
have to, in unison, one abstained, right? But we have to have the same answers. We cannot have different board members having different answers. So we need to have, and again, this is painful, but don't make it worse where we are answering on our own. We need to have a QA and have a narrative in writing so that we have something in our head so that when we hear it from the public, because I'm sure I'm going to hear it locally here in Eugene, right, is that I have a backed board approved narrative. So we need that before this goes public.
And so I think we've talked about Chad and Aaron and Tony and maybe our financial team coming up with that narrative with board approval that we agree that this is something we can stand behind, or this is what we have to say. Does that sound good to you guys, Chad and Aaron?
Absolutely.
And Tony? Okay. I don't have anything other than the meeting is adjourned. Is that right?
Sure.
At 10:07. Thank you all. Sorry that we are doing this today, and I know this is not easy for not one of us, and none of us like this, but this is where we're at, and we just don't have a choice. Hopefully we can rise above this and move forward. And I know for sure Chad and Aaron are not taking this lightly at all, and they've spent every day on this since March. So thank you all for being here, and meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.